Rain streaked down the conference room windows while my boss stood at the front of the room smiling. Elaine Porter looked confident as she presented the Haven Green Complex design to the board members. My design. 6 months of late nights and weekend work displayed on the screen behind her with her name in bold letters at the top. My name appeared nowhere. Not in the credits. Not in the acknowledgments. Completely absent. The board applauded enthusiastically. Several executives nodded with approval. My stomach twisted into a tight knot. Elaine gestured toward the architectural renderings I had perfected through countless revisions. She talked about vision and leadership and innovation. Every word felt like a knife. Then she turned to me with that practiced smile. Teamwork makes the dream work, right, Colin? Everyone in the room laughed. I stood there frozen, unable to speak. My face felt hot. My hands trembled slightly at my sides. This was the moment I realized what I actually meant to her. Not a colleague. Not a partner. Just a tool she used to climb higher. The meeting ended and people filed out talking about lunch plans. I stayed behind gathering my notes with shaking hands. Elaine approached me in the empty conference room. Her heels clicked against the polished floor. Colin, we need to talk about your role here. I looked up at her. She crossed her arms. You're not really leadership material. You're dependable though. Great at execution. That's valuable too. Her words landed like punches. Dependable. Execution. Code words for invisible. For replaceable. She walked toward the door then paused. Keep doing what you're doing. The firm needs people like you. She left and I stood there alone in that glass room. Through the window I watched her drive away in her luxury car. The car she bought after the last project I designed became the firm's biggest success. My breath fogged the glass. Something inside me changed at that moment. Something cold and clear settled into my chest. I was done being dependable. 6 months earlier everything felt different. I was working late on a residential project when Elaine stopped by my desk. She brought me coffee and sat down to review my work. This is incredible, Colin. You're my anchor here. I felt proud hearing those words. She started calling me into strategy meetings, asking my opinion on pitches, praising my attention to detail in front of clients. I thought she was mentoring me, preparing me for advancement. I stayed late finishing her presentations. Came in early to fix problems before she arrived. Worked weekends perfecting designs she would present. She always thanked me. Always smiled warmly. Always made me feel important. I believed I was building something with her. A partnership based on mutual respect. I was wrong. She was building something on top of me. Using my work as stepping stones while keeping me underneath. But I didn't see it then. I just worked harder thinking my loyalty would be rewarded eventually. Henry worked in the drafting department for 15 years. He was quiet and observant. One afternoon he stopped by my desk while I was reviewing blueprints. You worked too hard for her, Colin. I looked confused. Elaine appreciates dedication. Henry shook his head slowly. She builds ladders out of people like you. Climbs up and kicks them away. I laughed it off. You don't know her like I do, Henry. We're a team. He didn't smile. I've seen this before. 3 other architects. All gone now. She takes their best work and makes it hers. I told him he was being paranoid. That Elaine valued collaboration. He shrugged and walked away. But his words stuck with me like an itch I couldn't scratch. I pushed the thought aside and went back to work. I should have listened. Henry had seen this pattern play out before. He recognized the signs. The late-night requests. The constant praise mixed with subtle undermining. The way she slowly erased other people's contributions. I was just the latest person in a long line. 2 weeks after that conversation, Elaine called me into her office. I have something special for you, Colin. A career-defining project. She showed me preliminary sketches for the Haven Green Complex. A mixed-use development that would reshape the downtown waterfront. This is huge. I need someone I trust completely. I felt my chest swell with pride. This was the opportunity one had been working toward. I threw myself into the project completely. Worked through weekends developing concepts. Stayed late running structural calculations. Skipped lunches to refine the designs. Elaine checked in regularly. Always encouraging. Always appreciative. Then the small request started. Can you change the file ownership to my name? Just for client presentations. Makes things simpler. Can you remove your signature from these drafts? The client prefers a unified voice. Small things. Administrative details. I did them without question. I trusted her. Each change seemed reasonable in isolation. But together they were erasing me piece by piece from my own work. 3 months into the Haven Green project, I arrived at work early like always. I made coffee and logged into my computer. My password didn't work. I tried again. Access denied. A cold feeling crept up my spine. I called IT support. They checked my account. Your access to the Haven Green server was removed yesterday. Elaine Porter authorized it. My heart started pounding. Why would she lock me out of my own project? I walked to her office. She was on the phone. Looked up and smiled, then held up one finger. I waited in the hallway for 10 minutes. She finally waved me in. Colin, good morning. What's up? I asked about the server access. She frowned like she was confused. Well, we're moving into final presentation mode. Too many people with editing rights creates version control issues. Don't worry. Your work is safe. I'll handle the final polish. She smiled reassuringly. I wanted to believe her. But Henry's warning echoed in my head. I nodded and left her office. That night I couldn't sleep. Presentation day arrived on a Tuesday morning. The board members gathered in the main conference room. Major investors attended. City officials came to see the proposal. I sat in the back row. Elaine stood at the front looking powerful and confident. She clicked through my designs, my renderings, my calculations. She talked about vision, about leadership, about innovation. She never said my name. Every slide showed her name as lead architect. She fielded questions smoothly, explained technical details I had taught her. The board loved it. They applauded enthusiastically. One executive called it visionary. Another said it would define her career. I sat there clapping along with everyone else. My palms felt sweaty. My pulse hammered in my ears. I watched her accept congratulations. I watched her shake hands. I watched her take credit for 6 months of my life. She glanced back at me once during the applause. Our eyes met briefly. She smiled. Not warmly. Something else. Something that looked like victory. That evening my phone buzzed with a text message. Elaine. Couldn't have done it without you. Followed by a winking emoji. I stared at the screen for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I typed out a response. I know. Then I deleted it. Typed again. This was my work. Deleted that too. Finally I just turned off my phone. I sat in my apartment in the dark. Rain tapped against the windows. My chest felt tight. I had given everything to that project. Sacrificed my time, my health, my relationships. For what? To watch someone else collect the rewards? To be called dependable while she got called visionary? I opened my laptop. Started going through files. Not for revenge. Not yet. Just to understand what I actually had. What I actually owned. Documentation. Timestamps. Email chains. Everything that proved the Haven Green complex was mine. I created a folder. Named it Backups. Saved it to a drive nobody at the firm could access. The weeks after the presentation felt strange. Elaine acted like nothing had changed. She smiled at me in meetings. Asked me to work on smaller projects. Treated me the same way she always had. But I wasn't the same anymore. I started documenting everything. Every conversation. Every request. Every time she took credit for work I did. I saved original files with creation dates. Kept emails showing my contributions. Built a timeline of the Haven Green project from start to finish. Not because I had a plan. I didn't know what I would do with any of it. I just needed proof that I existed. That my work mattered. That I wasn't invisible. The documentation grew. Became organized. I worked on it late at night after everyone left. Nobody knew. Nobody suspected. I was still dependable Colin. Still executing other people's visions. But underneath something was changing. Something cold and patient. 4 weeks after the presentation, a major client called with concerns about their residential development. The structural calculations didn't match the architectural plans. Files were corrupted. The project was stalling. Elaine called an emergency meeting. Brought in the whole design team. She stood at the front of the conference room looking tense. We have a serious problem. Someone made errors in the Patterson residence calculations. She looked directly at me. Colin was lead on this project. I felt everyone's eyes turn toward me. My face went hot. I had reviewed those calculations 3 times. They were perfect when I submitted them. But I didn't argue. Didn't defend myself. I just nodded slowly. I'll fix it. Elaine sighed like she was disappointed. Please do. We can't afford mistakes like this. The meeting ended. People avoided looking at me. I went back to my desk and opened the Patterson files. The calculations had been changed after I submitted them. Modified by someone with administrator access. Someone like Elaine. I fixed the errors quietly. submitted the corrections, and smiled to myself. That night I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the meeting in my head. The way Elaine blamed me without hesitation. The way everyone believed her. I had spent 3 years at this firm. Built half their successful projects. And in one meeting I became the problem. The weak link. The person who makes mistakes. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Then a thought arrived clear and sharp. Elaine built her success on my work. On my late nights. On my expertise. She built her entire reputation on sand. And I was the sand. What would happen if I stopped holding everything up? If I just stepped away? The structure would collapse. Not because I destroyed it. Because it was never real. Just pretty renderings covering the empty foundation. I got up. I opened my laptop. I started sketching. Not building designs. An exit strategy. A way out that would show everyone exactly what I had been holding together. I started taking lunch alone. Found a quiet coffee shop 3 blocks from the office. Sat in the corner with my notebook. Mapped out every client relationship. Every active project. Every dependency in the firm's workflow. The firm had grown fast over the past 2 years. Elaine hired young architects fresh from school. Gave them impressive titles but paid them poorly. They depended on me to review their work. To fix their mistakes. To make their designs actually buildable. I had become the invisible foundation. If I left, the structure wouldn't just crack. It would crumble. I didn't want to destroy the firm. Didn't want to hurt the other architects. But I needed to stop holding Elaine up. Stop letting her stand on my shoulders while telling everyone she built everything herself. The phrase kept repeating in my head. Don't break her world. Just stop holding it up. I filled pages with notes. Plans. Timelines. A careful strategy for walking away without causing immediate chaos. But causing inevitable collapse. Elaine hired 2 new architects in July. Fresh graduates with impressive portfolios. She introduced them at a staff meeting. These brilliant young designers will help us expand. Learn from our experienced team. She looked at me when she said experienced. I knew what she meant. Learn from Colin. Let him train you. Then we won't need him anymore. I smiled and welcomed them. Showed them around the office. Introduced them to our systems. Over the next month I trained them carefully. Taught them our design software. Our filing systems. Our client protocols. But I never taught them everything. Never showed them the shortcuts. The workarounds. The institutional knowledge that kept projects running smoothly. I taught them just enough to look competent. Not enough to actually succeed without me. They were smart. They worked hard. But they kept coming back with questions. Kept running into problems. Kept needing me to fix things. Elaine didn't notice. She thought they were learning. Actually, they were becoming more dependent. I started reaching out to old clients. Not pitching anything. Not trying to steal accounts. Just checking in. Sending friendly emails. Making phone calls. How's the project going? Any concerns? I just wanted to touch base. They appreciated it. Several mentioned they hadn't heard from anyone at the firm in months. They asked questions about ongoing work. About future projects. About why my name wasn't on recent proposals anymore. I didn't badmouth Elaine. Didn't complain. Just listened. Answered their questions. Reminded them I existed. Seeds planted. Not for immediate harvest. Just growing quietly. Building relationships that existed outside the firm. Several clients said they preferred working with me specifically. Asked if I was taking on independent projects. I told them not yet. But maybe soon. They told me to let them know. They would follow me. Loyalty built over years of good work. Of answering calls. Of solving problems. That loyalty wasn't to the firm. Was to me. Elaine started spreading rumors about me. Subtle at first. Quiet comments in meetings. Colin's been struggling lately. The stress is getting to him. She said it with concern. Like she worried about me. But the message was clear. Colin is weakening. Can't handle the pressure. People started treating me differently. Offering help I didn't need. Speaking slowly like I might not understand. Checking my work more carefully. Looking for mistakes. I let it happen. Didn't defend myself. Didn't correct the narrative. Because her confidence was dangerous. The more certain she felt. The more convinced she was that she didn't need me. The less carefully she would watch when I walked away. Her arrogance was the rope. She was tying it herself. All I had to do was wait for her to pull it tight. Then step back. The City Planning Commission called a review meeting for the Haven Green complex. Elaine presented updates. Handled questions about the design. Everything went smoothly until a senior official asked about the structural load calculations for the main tower, specifically how the weight distribution worked. Elaine smiled confidently, started explaining. But her explanation was wrong. Technically incorrect. She was reciting terms without understanding what they meant. The official frowned. Asked a follow-up question. Elaine stammered. I looked at her notes. I tried again. Still wrong. The room got quiet. Uncomfortable. Someone on the board glanced at me. I sat still. Didn't help. Didn't interrupt. Just watched as Elaine's charm cracked. As her confidence faltered. As everyone realized she didn't actually understand the design she was presenting. The meeting ended awkwardly. Elaine's face was red. She avoided eye contact with everyone. I left quietly. Didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The seed of doubt was planted. At home I finalized the backup plan. 3 small development firms had reached out over the past year. Wanted me to consult. To join their teams. I had always said no. Loyal to Elaine's firm. But I still had their contact information. Their offers. I reached out to all 3. Had conversations. Casual at first. Then serious. 2 made offers immediately. Better salary. Better title. Equity stake. I negotiated carefully. Made sure the terms were solid. One firm specialized in sustainable residential design. They had talented people but lacked the technical expertise I had. They needed someone who could turn ambitious concepts into buildable reality. Perfect fit. I accepted their offer. Gave them a start date. 6 weeks away. Then I started telling select clients. The ones I had relationships with. The ones who trusted me. Mentioned casually that I might be making a change. Pursuing new opportunities. They asked where. I told them. Several said they would follow. Would bring their projects to wherever I landed. More seeds planted. The board announced Elaine's promotion in September. Creative director. New title. Bigger office. Significant raise. There was a celebration in the main conference room. Champagne and congratulations. Elaine gave a speech about vision and leadership. About building something meaningful. She caught my eye during the speech. Smiled that victorious smile. After the celebration ended she called me into her office. Closed the door. Sat behind her new desk. Colin, I want you to know that you helped me get here. Your support means everything. I stood there looking at her. She seemed to expect gratitude. Thanks. I said it flatly. She frowned slightly. Confused by my tone. Then I recovered. Keep doing what you're doing. The firm needs steady hands. I nodded. Shook her hand. Then I said something that made her pause. Starting tomorrow you'll finally understand exactly how much I helped. She laughed. I didn't understand. Thought it was a compliment. I left her office and went home to write my resignation letter. I sent the resignation email at midnight. 2 sentences. I am resigning from my position effective immediately. Thank you for the opportunity. No explanation. No drama. No long goodbye. I copied HR and the board. Then I turned off my work phone. Slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning my personal phone started buzzing. Elaine calling. Then texting. Colin, call me. This is ridiculous. We need to talk. I ignored everything. Went to the gym. Came home. Made breakfast. Around noon I got an email from the managing partner. We received your resignation. Can we discuss this? I replied simply. My decision is final. I wish the firm success. Then I started organizing my files. Everything I had built over 3 years. Every design. Every calculation. Every piece of institutional knowledge. All stored on my personal drives. Not the firm's servers. Nothing illegal. Nothing stolen. Just my work. My expertise. The things they took for granted. That afternoon Elaine left a voicemail. Her voice was different. Less confident. More desperate. Colin, please. Don't be impulsive. We can work this out. I deleted it without listening to the whole message. 2 weeks after I left the messages started. First from clients. Confused about project status. Asking for Colin's input. I forwarded them to my new email. I explained that I had moved on. Several asked if I could still consult. I said yes. The young architects Elaine hired started calling. Desperate. Files weren't opening correctly. Calculations weren't working. Systems were breaking. They didn't understand why. I politely declined to help. Suggested they figure it out. Part of learning. Then contractors started complaining. Plans didn't match specifications. Measurements were wrong. Details were missing. Everything I used to catch and fix before it became a problem. Now the problems were visible, multiplying. The firm's reputation started cracking. Deadlines passed. Clients got frustrated. The board started asking questions. Elaine's answers weren't satisfying. She tried blaming the young architects. They defended themselves. Showed that they had been following her instructions. Showed that the problems existed before they arrived. Showed that someone else had been covering up fundamental issues. The spotlight slowly turned toward Elaine. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Elaine. Her voice was shaking. Colin, I need your project notes. The Haven Green documentation. There are gaps. I was driving. Pulled over. Took a breath. You already presented everything, Elaine. Remember? The board loved it. It was your vision. She started talking faster. I need the technical files. The calculations. The structural details. I can't find them on the server. That's strange. I said calmly. Maybe check your backups. I don't have them, Colin. Please. I need help. You told me I wasn't leadership material. Just dependable. Good at execution. I paused. But apparently you need someone dependable right now. She started crying. Actual tears. Colin, please. My career is falling apart. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just cold clarity. You built your career on my work, Elaine. On my nights. On my expertise. You treated me like scaffolding. Something temporary to climb on then discard. Scaffolding gets removed when construction is done. She tried to speak. I hung up. Blocked the number. 3 weeks after I left, one of the Haven Green clients published a statement. They thanked me by name for the innovative design work. Mentioned they were excited to continue working with me at my new firm. The statement went public. Industry blogs picked it up. Several other clients saw it and reached out. Asked if they could move their projects. I told them yes. My new firm welcomed the work. Elaine's investors saw the statement. Started asking questions. Why was an architect who left getting credit? Where was the documentation? Why were clients following him? The board called an emergency meeting. Brought in auditors. Started reviewing project files. They found gaps everywhere. Missing details. Incomplete calculations. Work that was attributed to Elaine but clearly done by someone else. The metadata told the story. File creation dates. Edit histories. Author information. My name appeared on everything. As the original creator. As a problem solver. As the person who actually did the work. Elaine's name appeared as final editor. As presenter. As someone who changed file ownership but contributed nothing technical. Elaine showed up at my new office. Walked past reception without permission. Burst into my workspace. Her face was red. Eyes wild. You planned this. You sabotaged me. I looked up from my drafting table. Stayed calm. No, Elaine. You ignored the only person who kept you honest. She slammed her hand on my desk. I gave you opportunities. I made you who you are. I stood up slowly. You took my work and called it yours. Blocked my advancement. Blamed me for your mistakes. Built your reputation on my back while calling me dependable. She started to respond. Stopped. Realized I was right. Her shoulders sagged. The anger drained away. Replaced by something broken. I'm finished, aren't I? She asked quietly. I met her eyes. You finished yourself. I just stopped holding you up. She started crying. Not performing. Really crying. I didn't enjoy seeing it. But I didn't look away either. She needed to understand. Security arrived and escorted her out. I watched her leave. Felt nothing but quiet certainty. The board removed Elaine from her position 2 weeks later. Quietly. No announcement. Just suddenly gone. Her projects were reassigned. Her office emptied. People whispered but nobody knew the full story. The firm hired a new creative director. Someone with actual technical expertise. Someone who valued collaboration. The young architects I trained were struggling. They weren't bad. Just unprepared. They reached out apologizing. Asked if I would consult. Help them learn properly. I agreed. Fair rates. Clear terms. I taught them what I should have taught them before. They were grateful. Started improving. I heard through industry contacts that Elaine took a sabbatical. Left the city. Trying to rebuild her career somewhere else. I didn't feel victorious. Didn't celebrate her downfall. I genuinely hoped she learned something. That she would treat people better. Value the ones who did the actual work. Maybe she would. Maybe she wouldn't. Either way, she was no longer my problem. 6 months after I left, I stood in front of the completed Haven Green complex. The grand opening ceremony had just finished. City officials gave speeches. Investors celebrated. The building stood tall and beautiful against the evening sky. And there at the base, installed that morning, a bronze plaque with the project details. My name was etched clearly. Colin Reeves, lead architect. Not as an afterthought. Not hidden in small print. Right at the top where it belonged. My new firm had purchased the project rights during Elaine's removal. Made sure the credit went to the right person. I touched the bronze. Felt the letters under my fingers. Thought about everything that led to this moment. The betrayal. The planning. The careful extraction. The quiet collapse. Loyalty isn't blindness. It's trust freely given. But once that trust breaks, it never rebuilds the same. You can't demand loyalty from people you've betrayed. Can't stand on their shoulders while telling them they're beneath you. Can't take someone's work and expect them to stay silent forever. I learned something important. Your value isn't determined by people who exploit you. It's proven when you walk away and everything they built falls apart. The sun set behind the building. Glass caught the orange light. I smiled and walked toward my car. Tomorrow I had 3 new projects starting. All mine. All credited properly. All built on actual partnership. Not theft. The past was behind me. The future looked bright.